Yo, this is Murder Moose.
Whoa.
Murder. No, actually, we're going by this week. We're going by A Nightmare on Murder Moose Lane, which is a all the drama in the horror podcasting world that had been going on in the last week, and so we're on Nightmare on Murder Moose Lane this week. But
Nice, I like it.
So, if you could see, if you look around on Twitter, most of the podcasts on the network have changed their names to something, a nightmare on something, because I don't know, Josh, you probably haven't heard this. We had a fun little incident where one of the bigger horror podcasts around, A Nightmare on Film Street, or
yep.
I think is what it's called, decided that they hopped into a bunch of little horror podcast DMs and were like, hey, your name starts with A Nightmare on. Can you change your name? Because we're the popular big podcast.
Oh my God, around. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you literally ripped off A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then you think that you can like bully. Yeah. It was a...
and then everyone just whipped their dicks out and started slapping them in the face with it. Shut the hell up is what they said.
They got removed from Bloody Disgusting's podcast network. Good. They
to be honest, I've never heard of them, and fuck those guys anyway. So
yep, they lost a bunch of writers for their website. Like they had a whole gig and they lost everything, and I'm like, good. And it made it even worse because they specifically, it seems they targeted podcasts run by minorities too that weren't like
God.
Just yeah. So it
and now
was
it's
like,
just a hate crime. Like, come on, guys, that's a dumb move. Don't be dumb.
Yep. Don't be dumb. Don't be stupid. So we're just laughing, and like we kind of like in our messages for the podcast network on Twitter, we're like, we're all gonna change our name. So like you can look at it. It's like a nightmare on Dead in Santa Carla, and like a nightmare beneath the sea.
It literally makes me feel so much happier to be a part of this network now that we've all band together to just smack that guy and that. It's stuff. It made me laugh my ass off just because of the like it's the most Karen thing I've ever seen from a like, you know, it's that's
like
a perfect describing word, by the way. Like it all encompasses everything that just happened. One word, Karen.
Yep. Karen. Yep. It's Karen. It's like you being that you think because you're a white female, you can like
that's the fucking privileged like world we live in, especially the social media world. I have numbers and I have more numbers than you, so you have to shut the fuck up. Like seriously, I'm not listening to you, and you like numbers mean bullshit. You can buy those things and fuck off. Like it doesn't mean a fucking thing.
Especially it's like it's this thing, and it's this reoccurring thing. Like Brian and Andy just did a whole episode about gatekeeping and horror, and it was like exactly what they're talking about. It's like the stuff where it's like these podcasts, like, why do you care? We're all here to like make content and just like contribute. It's not anything other than that. It's like, I'm not here to make millions of dollars. I'm doing a show with my buddy who I want to bullshit with everyone on a weekly basis. And you're going to come in and just be like a giant cunt, basically, is what it comes across.
You know what I've noticed in the past, like, you know, I'm doing a mindfulness class. I'm getting more in tune with like what it is to be a fucking human again, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
And like everything I've done and everything that I've said fuck you to people about, it's all because they don't see it the way that it, like, be a friend, be nice to people, and that makes everything else just happen. And like you were nice to me, and I was shut down from the world at the time you met me. I wasn't saying yes to anything. I was saying no to everything, and you were persistent. You're like, no, man, you're rad. Like, let's just hang out. And you approached me in the way I needed to, because if you're friends first, if everything else just fucking happens, like in the bands I was in, everything, like we were better because we were all bros, and everything was so fun that we were doing that it didn't matter. And whenever anything in the stress level is down, that's the same with me creating films and everything. Like if you can be in a collaborative zone and have that friend zone, and that like everyone's shoulders are down and having good times, everyone works 10 times harder, and everyone gets to like, fuck people that are the other way. Like that, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just be nice, and everything can just be a nice thing. I don't know.
It's a basic principle I try to live my life by. I have a temper. I get mad about shit and like I'll road rage and yell. I'm not like swerving. I'm just like yelling at my car. But like I generally try to treat people with respect and like tolerance and trying to be good to people. And it's like the thing that like really does affect me more and makes me matter. It's like the people that feel like they're above everyone else. Like they're more important, that they're like,
just
it's the people
Elon Musk. Yeah. He's above everyone, but he is the raddest dude. And you could imagine yourself smoking a blunt with fucking Elon Musk, right? Because he is that guy.
He's a lizard person. I'm still convinced that Elon Musk is a lizard person.
But
and
if
that
we could all just be aspire to be a tiny bit more like Elon Musk in one way or another. He's very successful for a reason. He's smart as fuck, but look at how like just down to earth he is at the same time, or not even Earth, maybe down to Jupiter or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. He's down, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's a thing. Especially now in like the last year we've been through all the shit we've been through as a world. It's like, man, you just be like good to people, man. Be nice. Be like friendly. Be like, dude, I will sit there and go out of my way to like record a podcast with someone else or do something else, and like if I can, and like help people and just hang out and have fun, man. Like I'm not here like it's not, we all have our own stresses in life, man. Like every day things are happening and kicking us in the I said killing and kicking at the same time. It's like kicking us in the ass, and it's just like all you can do is try to make things better for people, not like worse, man. And it's just it's I don't care if you have like, I do the same thing when I'm streaming. I don't care if you have like 2 people in your stream or you have like 1,000. If you're shitty to the people in your stream and like, I'm not going to hang out with you and I'm going to watch out. Like all the people I dig with and I'm down with have always been good, nice people, at least, you know.
If I feel like being an active participant of a chat, I go to my friends, like smaller numbered streams and stuff. Yeah. If I just want to lurk and just vibe, I go to the bigger number streams, because you don't have to like, you know, you can just, it's a thing, right? Like I like to be an active member of a community if I'm going to be a part. And I assume that they probably have the panel open where they can see who the fuck is watching them anyways. So I see me come in and they see me not talk, they might think like, well, what the fuck did I do wrong today, right? It's like, I'm just lurking because I want to vibe today, but I feel bad that I'm not, you know? So I do those type of things on purpose, but also be like Black Fawn Films. They're fucking rad, and they reached out to me in my DMs on Twitter right after the episode went up, and they're like, dude, like, I loved the breakdown you guys did. Here's some answers to the questions you had in the podcast. I was like, what? That's so cool. I love that. So, like, our questions were like, oh, that has to be filmed in a bar, like an actual bar. Like, it looked too good, the production value. No, it was one set that they flipped around and filmed half of it at one. And then once they were done, they just tore it all down and then switched it around. And that was the Oak Room. I was like, that's fucking genius. I love it.
Yeah. It's again, it's that thing we keep talking about with these smaller films. They're doing what they can with the resources they have, and it's knowing what you can do and knowing your limits and what you have, like not even the limits, you're just your constraints on what you're filmmaking with. And it will be interesting to hear what you talk about the movie we're talking about Versus. And that movie, I looked on Wikipedia, had a $10,000 budget in 2000.
No way.
Yeah,
that's like the main thing that I wanted to know was what was the budget for this? Because they didn't. You could tell that they had ideas to 1,000, and they didn't give any fucks. They were gonna get to 1,000, and they did, man. They fucking did.
I was talking about it like yesterday with like when I was doing that episode. I'm like, it's basically The Matrix meets The Evil Dead. Is like how I like, because it came out in 2000, right after The Matrix. Yeah. And is such an Evil Dead clone at the same time with the same kind of thing.
They do the Evil Dead shot so many times, from in the you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Evil Dead shot.
But yeah, dude, that was so it was so awesome to see those guys listen to that episode and just dig with it, because it was, I think we both had really got into that movie. And it's funny because like some account that follows me. I think they're making a horror movie themselves. They're like, what? Give us some suggestions. And I was like, Psycho Gorman. They're like, I'm a hunky boy for life already. And they're like, I'm like, okay, then go see this Oak Room. And then Black Sky Film. Sorry, is that what it's called?
Black Fawn.
Black Fawn. They retweeted it after I said that and everything like that because they're following. And I'm like, and this is my account, not even the Murder Moose. So like, it was dope to see them like digging in and like.
But that's another reason why I love. I don't know, I'm from Canada. It's not like the main reason, but like the Canadian or just indie production houses in general, they understand that the people that are your fans are the ones that are going to champion you. So championing them as well. And like, it's a straight up high five back and forth because we love what you're doing and they love that we appreciate it and are willing to advertise for them as well. Right. Like it's a big thing. And I want to yell at the top of the roofs of like, watch this, because people over the years I've been doing like talking about movies for over a decade, so everyone that knows me turns to me now for suggestions all the time. I'm just they know I'm just a walking movie file. Okay, what you know that movie for like my mom has literally said, you know that movie with that guy. And she said like 2 things, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was Matt Damon in this movie." And she's like, "It was. What the fuck?" I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. That happens to me all the time too, because it's been the same way with like me for like, I mean, especially when it comes to horror. But like, I watch a lot of movies, and it's like, that's one of the reasons why we vibe so well is just the complete love of cinema. So I'm really glad they liked that episode, and it made me happy. It's a good thing to like have the people producing something enjoy how you discuss it. And we're probably one of the first, things to put out like stuff about it because it's, it was just being released, and I see you could stream it now and stuff like that on the rental stuff. So, it was dope. So Josh, we have one of my favorite. It's funny, this movie, I just pulled it up on IMDb, does not have the word horror in any of the descriptions.
Action, drama,
of this movie.
fantasy.
And I'm like, how don't you have horror in this? There are zombies and like people being murdered for like 2 hours straight. It's like, it is.
That's the
I
action.
understand. Yeah.
This movie is just one long action scene after another, after another. And like they do reuse a few, like, or not a few, they reuse a lot of the techniques over and over and over again. But like every scene and action is, I don't know, man, it's visceral. It's in your face. And I love the direct knocks to like other movies from America that they are definitely, like you said, Matrix and Evil Dead for sure, but then it's mixed with obviously all the best like tropes that a Japanese movie has with like ultra close eye shots and stuff. I love those are just to me. I like Japanese eyes anyways are just beautiful when you zoom up on them like that, and especially the female character, she was always lit so brightly in comparison to everyone else around her. I love that. That's such a like Asian trope thing to do as well, like the beautified look, and she was like almost slow motion the entire time. Everything she was, it was sweet. Dude,
read the description for us before we forget, like we did.
Okay, verses. There are 666 portals that connect this world to the other side. Why 66? Okay.
Because the devil, it's the number of Satan. Come on, we know.
No, 333 is. These are.
Damn it, Josh.
What? Okay, where was I? These are from all human beings. Somewhere in Japan exists the 444th portal, the Forest of Resurrection. Why 444 though? Like, why wouldn't it be 333?
I think, I don't know. I think it's just kind of goofy, and it's like I was looking into the Wikipedia. That's where I went and looked at
it's a comedy on something else. Like it's definitely a comedy. Like this is like I was laughing so hard. At so many parts.
Like the leader of the first like gang of that guy is, every time he's on screen, you're like, oh my god, this guy is hamming it up to a level that is. Like,
every
hysterical.
time his hand movements, his other hand that's not holding the weapon is like doing something weird the entire time, and I was mesmerized by him. Like the entire time he was on screen, I was mesmerized by him. I was like, what the fuck is he gonna do next? Like with his foot all of a sudden, like what? Like
that between him and the guy that just gets knocked out,
the
guy that gets knocked out like 37 times in the movie. It was just like he runs into the characters, screams and runs away like the whole time. You're like, what the fuck?
This is gonna be a movie that I tell people to watch so many times now. Like if you haven't seen, like, what was the last Japanese film you saw? It doesn't fucking matter because you haven't seen Versus, and you have to see Versus now because that is the only Japanese movie that you need to see right now.
It's funny because it was I originally seen this movie before even A Midnight Meat Train came out, and it was why I wanted to see Midnight Meat Train because it's directed by Ryu Katamura, I think is how you say his name. Yeah, it's the same director.
I'm not going to argue that one.
Yeah, and what's funny because he ends up he's done a bunch of movies, and he has this Sakaguchi in all of them, and like he's in Midnight Meat Train in like one of the scenes on
Midnight Meat Train. I gotta rewatch that. I don't really overly remember it, but I just remember being like, that was bizarre, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, so he does like he's got a whole series of kind of quirky, weird sci-fi / horror movies that he did with this guy, and they're all kind of out there. Like I have a bunch of them on DVD, like 3 of them on DVD. There's like this. One's called Alive, I think was one of them, and I can't think of any more of the titles right now, but like they're just all like out there and over the top, but like I laugh because this movie just completely embraces what it is and has, you were talking about it being Japanese and being like, you know, embracing the Japanese thing. I like the FBI agent / cop or whatever he is that's
Canada,
like he's from Canada, but he was trained at Quantico, and he's like the most like anime character ever. And
his huge fucking sniper rifle thing he has, like a fucking car terror.
It's like the Barrett 50 cal, and he's just got like they're driving around, and it's like, what the hell? And then his stupid friend, that's
up with it.
Oh, he's trying to. He doesn't do a very good job, but his friend who lost his hand at the beginning of the movie, like, but you don't see him, and the guy would have bled to death like hours ago, and you're just like, what is going on with this guy? And
it's the sheer amount of blood on that one spazzy guy's face that just like continues to get more and more for no reason whatsoever. He just is covered in blood all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like the one point his face is covered in blood and he gets hit in the face, and like I think that there's like more blood coming out of his nose, but you can't even tell because there's so much blood on his face, and you're like, they do this thing, and this is such a Japanese thing, and there's like from what my experience with Japanese like horror movies kind of thing, where they completely, it's like the scene in Kill Bill where what do you call her, chops off that dude's head, and just like it's just blood spraying forever, and they completely embrace the over like the top thing. Like it's like the scene where the guy gets his head, like he punches through the guy's head.
I love all those. They reused that like hole in the head and the hole in the chest thing, like the same exact gag for like 8 different people, but it worked every single time too. I was like, movies don't do this enough, and they did it like 18 times in this movie, and I loved it.
It was you could tell like this was it's very much like, it reminds me of things like early Quentin Tarantino, and not that high of quality, but it's that thing where it's like you could just tell that the people there making this were just having a fucking blast, and like we're like, this is just hysterical. And like
that's what this movie reminded me of, like that story I told you at the beginning, like the zone where they're all friends, they all know what they're trying to do, and they were just having a fucking blast the entire time, and like like no, I'm gonna make you crawl down the tree now. Like it was so
dude. And you know, because there are so many zombies in this movie, they just got like people to go like, hey, you know, we'll give you like a lunch and like $20 here, come like dress up like a zombie for a couple hours, and
zombies looked actually good too, though. Like $10,000 for all those special effects. Like they're like some of the worst special effects in this movie were the guns and the like fireworks they had in the end.
Yeah,
You could see the sparks and stuff. That was hilarious to me. But like the actual blood and like special effects makeup and stuff was awesome. Like it didn't look bad at all, and the blood was really bright. But because there was so much of it, it looked awesome. Yeah.
So I have to ask you, like, there's a thing that it was rewatching this. I've watched this movie probably 5 or 6 times total. The weird like color filters they do at times, especially towards the end of the movie, like where it's like they do the red filters at the last the last big fight sequence of the movie, and then like there's like blue like they do these very like filters that I kind of associate with them like having with specific characters throughout the movie, like the prisoner or like whatever who was, you know, the one being.
I was trying to understand that myself, because the first time it was introduced was on the female character, and that's where like she was overly white all the time. But then they did it so like when she was first introduced, that was like what I'm talking about. It looked like they changed to like they had 3 different cameras. Only one of them was HD, and all the other ones were like. Or no, but then one was like a camera that they got from a parents, and the other one was like shouldn't have been using it whatsoever. So I just thought they were trying to make those cameras look better because they just were almost unusable, because one was used as the action cam for sure, because like really fast movement one, it didn't matter what camera you're using, it almost added to the visceralness of the fight when it all of a sudden was really shaky and like the footage didn't look so good. Like it tied the things together, because you could see like if they kept the main shot going too long, you could see the glue of the fight. They're all amazing like fighters, or you know, stunt.
The choreography, the choreography is great for like
great.
It really is in like. It's kind of hard to talk about characters in this movie specifically, because you look on it on IMDb, literally the only one who even has kind of a name is the main character, and it's he's a prisoner like who just broke out of jail at the beginning of the movie, and it's just
so much like Liu Kang to me from like Mortal Kombat back in the day. Yeah,
he's got that long hair, but then he puts on the Neo leather jacket halfway through the movie, and it's like, you know what I laugh about?
That.
Yeah, when he puts that jacket on, I'm like, but like the shirt that guy was wearing, where like there was like big old hole in his chest. I was like, where did the chest? Yeah, where did his guts come from? So like all the other characters like we're just you kind of have to describe them, because literally this is the character names on IMDb: prisoner KSC2303, the man, the girl, Yakuza leader with butterfly knife, motorcycle riding Yakuza with revolver, crazy Yakuza with amulet, Yakuza with glasses, red-haired assassin,
that long-haired female assassin. By the way, the red-haired assassin, that was the one special effects makeup that was not good at all. He had the pizza face at the end. Like it looked good at first, and then he started getting kicked around, and all of a sudden he just had like a pepperoni pizza on his face with sunglasses over it.
Dude, and that's what, like, so like every time he fought that guy a couple times, because like
hilarious.
Like
they go so they kicking motion.
They go into this, like the guy escapes from prison, and he's trying to get this meet these dudes to like get, like the guy he escaped with is like set up this like rendezvous, but like it ends up being at this 444 Force of Resurrection. And so it's funny that the guy, it's one of the only thing in this movie that like is kind of like the main character hits the female like 3 or 4 times in the movie and keeps knocking her out. It's kind of like, it's kind of cringe, you know what I mean?
2000, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And but like he's like,
but it was a joke though. I was laughing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's
just go over there for a sec. But he just knocks her out instead. Why did you tell her to go over there if you're just gonna knock her out? It doesn't make sense.
Especially it's like he's doing a Vulcan death grip or something. Like he just smacks her in the back of the neck, like he karate chops her
in the neck, and she goes down.
Yeah. And when they all meet with these gangster guys, they're like, they pull her out of the car because the other guy is like trying to get them all to meet because of this event. But like they're beating this girl up, or not even beating her up, they're being rough with her. And he's like, I'm a feminist. And it's just the way he says it is just so, it's so ridiculous. And it's perfect cheese because you could tell that they know it's kind of cheesy, and they're like all like the main character that
they went all in.
Yeah,
and like if you choose, what was I gonna like the high concept stuff like this, you gotta just like you can't like all of a sudden try and take it seriously because you can't, like it has to go fully all in this direction for this to work. And that's why this movie works so fucking well, is because they're like, no, we're already all in, so we can do that, and we can have the zombies have guns, and I'm gonna kick this zombie in the nuts too. Like that was the best. I was like, you just put icing and whatever, and that was the cherry. Like the icing was fucking zombies with guns, and then he kicks them in the nuts, and they're like reacting to it. I'm like, this is the best. Like this is everything.
It makes the like, I think one of the most memorable, like there's a bunch of zombie fights in this movie because they keep running into like the criminals that they're meeting they say at one point basically this is where they dump their bodies, or like they've killed people. They're just like where are they? This is where we buried everyone. But like they're fighting at some point, all these zombies, and like there's the one guy with a zombie on each side of him, and they point guns at him, and he's like looks at him, and he like leans back, and they shoot each other instead.
It's such a like Western thing, right?
Yeah. It's like it's one of those things where it's just like they're taking advantage of the zombies just being zombies, right? They're not smart, and it makes it like. Yeah, the other thing I really do enjoy about this movie, and it's one of those things where when I got real into Japanese movies for a little while, sword fights are like so rare. I feel like in cinema, like especially now, right? Like I don't know how often I actually see a good sword fight in a movie. It's kind of like how often do you see a good bank robbery like that's actually shot like right and like feels like that tense and everything like that. It's like sword fights don't happen in like American
Point
cinema.
Break did it, and it's like, wow, the bar is set so high now. And then Dark Knight did it really well as well. Like Christopher Nolan takes it, you know, for bank robbing. Like I don't know, like but swords, man. But that we don't have a culture that is like samurais and that type of stuff. Like so, unless you're going out of your way to watch like that new fucking Arthur movie or some shit, like nobody did. No one asked for that, by the way, and nobody watched it. So just stop.
Yeah, it's not part of our like, but I enjoy sword fights, man, and it was impressive especially at the end where they do that sword fight, and it's like
I love the part where they are fighting so hard and then they accidentally switch swords, and the one guy's like making fun of the like add-on.
He's like
this stupid thing.
He's
like
looking at it like,
but that like really gives you insight into like their characters as well. Like it's like the sword is like everything, and he's got the dagger on the end. It was badass, man. Like $10,000, and they got that much production value out of like they made their own weapons and stuff. You could tell those weren't like real. They added the sounds, but like it didn't matter. They looked fucking dope, man.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot actually in Psycho Gorman, in that like you could see that they just embraced what they had with their low budget, right? And it's like, and that's why it's that first thing you watch this movie, and you, especially when you go in not knowing, you're like, holy fuck, this is just like a Japanese love letter to Evil Dead. Like it's not completely the same, right? Because you're talking about the camera angles, and it was like just all the things that they love. Like you could tell that the guy, the director is like loved anime too, because like you're talking about the FBI agent is very, anime character, but like when they're sword fighting and they swing, and they swing so hard that the leaves pop up like in like the
I love that stuff
wave.
So much.
Yeah. And it's just like they built this universe where it's like it's this reoccurring event, right? They have this event where it's like whenever this female character specifically is like old enough, and like these other guys are like, oh yeah, we're gonna try to do this ceremony. this is gonna happen. But it's like that cool thing where it's like, because they go back into it was like 500 years ago, they said, right? So it's like 1500. There's these samurai scenes where they're really cool shot, and they don't do a whole lot of them, but they do enough that you see like what's happening, and you're like, oh, this is dope. Like, yeah.
But, production value out the fucking ass. Like the whole main chunk of the movie is just in the forest, so you can never really tell where they are, how much they used, or how long they were there for.
Yeah.
But like flashbacks, and then that big flash forward at the end, the set they and stuff. That's where you can really see the budget in the movie.
Oh, dude, that's that last scene where they go into like 90. They say 99 years in the future, which is another thing that they're just embracing the cheese of everything, and they're like you could just tell it's like a Godzilla set. Like they're just like these like fake buildings that they've put the camera down on the ground, and they're just like they're like. This is like all you need is a dude in a kaiju costume like stomping through, and it would fit perfectly with that.
I think the thing I appreciated the most out of this movie was just the sheer amount of like angles and shots they got.
Yeah,
it like one fight scene, it would like there's the main, but there's like at least 10 different like B shots that they get for one fight scene, like close-ups of the sword attached to the sword, close-ups of their face getting, and I'm like, this is, and it's all cut so fast that it's like it makes you feel more visually in the fight or something. And I was I was blown away. Just the close-ups, they're so good at close-ups.
Yeah. I think the only thing that sometimes there were a couple points in this movie where I felt like they excessively cut, like they did too many quick cuts, and I always feel like when you're doing that, it's like that like American movie when you're trying to make an R-rated scene go to PG-13 kind of thing.
But like the main angle shows them not hitting each other and stuff, right? And to keep a low budget movie with there's obviously a stunt coordinator and everything in this, but like you don't want to hurt each other, and like I don't know how much time they had to film this, and if it was only $10,000 that you got to probably get this more on the one take, so the more angles and the more things that you can cut to, then again hiding that glue thing.
And that makes sense, and you're probably right. It's probably that's why it's the they're like, oh, we can't. It's like it's very much like wrestling at that point. Like filmmaking is like wrestling, right? Like where you're just trying to make things look as realistic as possible. But if you get the wrong angle with that stuff, it's like you could see them not punching each other.
A bunch of phantom misses in this movie, but like it's forgivable because of everything else that's happening in the movie. And even if they said they left those in intentionally, I would applaud that too, because it adds to like the funny value of everything as well.
Well, they have the thing where it's like they also kind of sell it as like these guys are, especially the main character and the main bad guy, are like so good compared to everyone else that they're just swinging at them, and it's just like it's funny because the main guy kind of kicks the shit out of a bunch of the first guys that pop up to like pick him up for the main bad guy, and then the main bad guy comes back, appears. And then everyone's trying, like the bad guys are all trying to turn on him, and he's kicking the shit out of him. So these guys are just all getting the shit kicked out of them. And then more people show up because they're like, it's that horror thing where like they've killed all the main characters like halfway through the movie, and they're like, or almost all of them. And they're like, oh shit, we need more people to kill. We gotta get like 4 more people to show up because
I was surprised when there was like more henchmen, or like the red haired guy and stuff. Like they were part of their own crew. That's when
they were they were the other guy
that they were waiting for.
Right? He brought them in as backup to kick the shit out of the new guy, the guy that was like the gang leader. And which was a bad idea because this is the guy that like was here 500 years ago, and seems like he's been alive for all that time, and isn't like
it. But that's where this like the story is so out there, and once it all unfolds and you see the whole thing laying in front of you, you're like, man, this is so ambitious to like accomplish for a super indie film as well. Like you think if you have a budget that constraint, you're not going to try and accomplish a story this massive and covers 500 years and like it worked. They showed everything, and I didn't want to stop watching, man. It got interrupted so many times just because that's my life and everything. But I was just like, I can't wait to see what the fuck happens next, man, because this is kooky in all the right ways.
It doesn't really doesn't stop for most of the movie. There are like there are just like these little calm periods in between like zombie fights or like these like expositions of what's happening and like because you have a main character who doesn't remember anything that happened. He doesn't remember his past life, and then the female character who had been alive and he ended up, you learn later on in the movie, he killed back in the day. She starts remembering before he does, and it's like this very, it's funny because I've been watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer with my wife, and it has this thing of story element that could totally be from Buffy, because like they'll sacrificing this lady for the end of the world kind of thing. And it's like, man, they just embrace the cheese and just have a good time with it. And it's just like, it's that's why it's so entertaining. It's just like, it's like, totally. We're going to go balls to the wall with everything, and we're going to go, fuck this. It's especially the original Evil Dead, which had no budget at all. Like, they're just like, we're going to make this movie, and it ended up being kind of hysterical on accident. Right. And so they turned Evil Dead 2 into like, they intentionally turn that stuff on, and then they have a little bit bigger of a budget in the second one and make it even better. And it's like, they kind of like embrace the cheesy in this movie. They're like, okay, this could be a little funny, and it's like, go ham it up. And like we're talking about the one guy, the villain dude, who's just like completely, you know what it reminds me of a lot. Man. Yeah, me too, dude. It kind of reminds me of like Metal Gear Solid Henchmen for a while. Totally. Like all the bosses in the Metal Gear game, they all have like very distinct looks. They all have like,
everyone like had their like introduction moment where they're just like standing there doing like their specific move like to that character. Like the one chick came in with her guns and like spur, and then like did her thing, and the other guy comes in, like it was like more like wrestling again.
It's that thing where it's everyone is just like, they get to kind of do their thing, right? It's like you're giving you're coming down to the ring, and you need wrestlers usually come down to the ring with the same entrance, like they do the same thing every single time. It's kind of like that. It was like they've done this before, and they're like, okay, this is where I go. I put my arm up at this point.
Main with his jacket, he was like, flips the back flap. I'm out of here. So many times I was just like, this is so good.
Dude, I wondered with that, because like the whole like last act of the movie, he gets like shot in the eye at the end of the second act, and like they cover it up, but like they also he's got longer hair, and they kind of use that to do like I think kind of cover that up, because they're like, I think that the guy might have been like had a way harder time seeing shit like towards the end of that movie, especially because that's when the intense fight scenes are at the end of this movie, and like but they let you see it, and like kind of
there's intense fight scenes the entire time. Yeah, that's true. But I'm at, like at the end of with everything and the main boss fight.
Yeah, the thing that's kind of awesome is they do break. I mean, there's not like I said, there aren't huge breaks, but they put these little comedy moments in just to kind of like let you chill out instead of being like adrenaline junkied up for like the whole 2 hours, right? Like the guy we're talking about, the bloody face guy, he has all these scenes where he keeps getting like knocked out, comes up, runs, he screams, runs away,
but he's got something in his back pocket. Ow, it's hot.
Yeah.
So good.
And that FBI agent and like who was like, I am a master of all fighting styles, and I do this, and it's just it's so anime or like old 70s kung fu movie kind of thing, where it's like, no one has ever defeated me in battle. And totally. He's the one you're talking about. He was like, I was raised in the Rocky Mountains of Canada, or like the Yellowstone, Yellowstone of Canada, or something like that.
Yellowstone National Park, which isn't in Canada.
Yeah, and something like that.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it's just like in like Wyoming or something like that, right? But
then he said Langley, which is in BC. So,
then he got. he says he got trained at Langley. That's the FBI headquarters. That's what that was.
But Langley is in BC, which is in the mountains. So.
Oh, is okay. But I think at that point when he said Langley, he meant the FBI. He was saying he'd been
Canada.
Yeah.
I lost my mind. I was like, this is so fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So he was raised in the mountains by bears, apparently, or something, and then like went to Langley and became like learned how to be an FBI agent. And now he's running around and the thing that is just perfect is like the idiot that he's with. He's like there's another cop and who was obviously handcuffed to the main character, because this movie, like the first intro of the main character you see in this movie, he's like walking and he's got handcuffs on, and there's a hand in the handcuff, and it's the most plastic hand
and they throw it down, and they don't even add like a sound that doesn't make it sound plastic either. It just sounds like he throws a plastic hand down.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're like, oh, that's okay. We're gonna, and they don't give a fuck, because they're like, you go through the movie, and they're like plastic arms and legs and shit all over on the ground, and you're like, they add like a little tiny bit of blood, and they're like, okay, that's good, and they're just like, oh my god, I love this so much. It's like, it reminds me of like what would happen if you like shot a movie in like a haunted house or something like that. You know what I mean?
It reminds me 100% of the haunted house from Callaway Park. That's the like, we live in Calgary, and like other than the Stampede, the greatest outdoor show on earth or whatever, we don't have like rides all the time or like theme parks like crazy like America does. So Callaway Park is this like tiny little amusement park that when it first opened, Flintstones was the thing. So it had it was called like the Flintstone Park or something. So all the like stuff is made out of like bedrock looking shit. But then Flintstones wasn't popular for very much longer after that. So now it's just Callaway Park, and everything looks Flintstones in it. And the haunted house is still like this Flintstonesy thing. And it's so terrible. This whole movie just like reminded me of the haunted house from Callaway Park, the Flintstones weird house. They've updated it now, but it's still got the Flintstones fucking. It's so weird, man. But the whole time I was like, this is Callaway Park.
I feel like that these guys didn't have like a filming permit or anything. They just went out into the woods and were like, yeah, we're shooting this in the woods. Like kind of like Evil Dead, right? Yeah, like it's I keep saying it, but it's obvious. Like this is like, they were like, we want to do our version of Evil Dead, and like had like
Evil
everything.
Sorry, I got this stupid story about the Necronomicon like DVD set. I was holding my daughter one, and she like pointed to the Necronomicon, and she's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, that's Facebook. Never go on Facebook."
I love it, dude. Have you? I don't know if you've been watching it all. Like, the second season of Creep Show has been going on, and there's an episode where they're in this like TV set in the 70s or something in like Pennsylvania or something, and the whole premise of the show is like that there's like this guy, they have like a
season 2's out already. Damn.
Yeah, it's almost done. And this guy comes on to like, they have an antique show on this like, little local access TV network show, and this guy brings in like, it's the Necronomicon basically, and they don't call it the Necronomicon, or maybe they do call it the Necronomicon because it's not, but it's like exactly the same book from like Evil Dead, and he like the guy starts reading it, and like everyone in the station's turning into Deadites, but like they don't call them Deadites, and it's
just a complete rip-off.
And the best part about it is there's like a painter guy on it, and it's Bob Ross basically, but not Bob Ross, and he's like a Vietnam vet because this is in the 70s, and he just starts destroying these Deadites, and it's fucking awesome, and like it's so awesome, and it's really, really entertaining, and the episode was killer. But that's all you remind me of for that. So yeah, it's funny because like this like when all this happens, it's like you don't know why it's happening, and they slowly unveil the backstory and why this is happening, and how there's this 444 portal that they talk about in the
I love that,
the synopsis. Yeah. It's so funny. So this main villain dude who shows up like about halfway through the movie, he shows up, maybe like something like that. Also, what made me laugh about him, I was trying to figure out how his sword worked. I'm like, how did he put his sword together? Like how, like I understand like putting the sheath and like all that stuff together, but how did he he like actually just put the sword together and like screwed it together and like the blade,
and then the blade
was
just
like
comes
together
up the full length, and it didn't make sense, dude.
You're like, I'm like, what? Because he's like carrying around the suitcase and you're like, what the fuck is this? And it's like, it's his sword and you're like, it's in like 3 pieces and he puts it together. And that's like the you were talking about earlier with the like the weird, like it looks like a gas thing on a motorcycle handle or something like that, you know, but like very punk rocky with spikes.
It was metal, dude. It's so metal. Well, punk rock too, but like grungy, punky metal. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, this movie, like you read about it, and I was like looking into it. Like it was originally going to be a short, and then somehow got like turned into a a full length movie. And
it's not short either. It's over 2 hours. Like it's a full length movie.
It was gonna be. That's what I'm saying. It was originally gonna be a short, and then dude, this got this guy going into enough where he directed a Godzilla movie. He directed Godzilla Final Wars, which is one of the most balls to the wall Godzilla movies you will ever see, because it's basically like Godzilla fights like every single monster that's ever been in a Godzilla movie. He fights, and it's like batshit crazy and off the wall, and it's very like you get the like.
I used to watch these movies with my dad when I was a kid. All the Godzilla movies, like Mothra, they were fun, man.
And all this stuff is like, it's like he directed a couple movies. It looks like before this movie, like in the 97 and 96. This was his third movie, but like, man, you're like, and then he just it skyrocketed him into making more movies, and he's still like, he had a movie come out like in 2020, and like I said, he did the Midnight Meat Train, so he was doing American movies, and I don't know how many more.
Oh, he did
American
Doorman?
movies.
I have that one. Crazy. I'm not the hugest fan of what's her name in it, the Ruby Rose.
Yeah.
She kind of just like looks pissed off all the time, and then I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, she was an interesting thing because she was on the first season of the Batgirl show, and she was like, oh, this is too much work, I don't want to do this anymore, basically is what it sounded like.
Really?
And like quit after a season. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's good to see a director who you go, man, this guy loves making movies, and just it goes down and it does this crazy balls to the wall movie that it is, and then it made so much for him that he did, let's see, some TV stuff, and then he did
a movie called Downrange. That's a Shudder exclusive.
Yeah. Oh, that was him. I didn't realize that was him. That one's caught my glare of like watching it. I've just never actually watched it.
Man, I'm looking at it right now. It looks kind of cool.
It says, stranded at the side of the road after a tire blowout, a group of friends become targets for I can't even say that word. Enigmatic sniper. I can't talk, but yeah, that word. But yeah, I mean, we can watch it at some point for sure.
So I like to follow directors. As soon as I know a director's done something that resonates with me, I attach myself to that director, and they're now in my like bag of directors that I need to see more that they've done, or their whole fucking catalog. Like depending on how much a movie resonates with me, it's like, how the fuck did I not know that they did this and this and this? And then it's just I go on a craze and watch movies by them for like the next month or something.
Oh yeah,
it's like doing research or something, you know.
Well, dude, it's like you get into these things when you're like, I mean, I'm kind of like the same way, but with like, I often more get into like where I'm going to watch. Like, I remember last year when the pandemic started, I was like, I got on this weird Jean-Claude Van Damme kick. And I was like watching a bunch of old shitty Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. And I'm like, most of these are terrible, but fuck, they're entertaining just because they're like, you know, just, you know, balls to the wall crazy.
How many times he does the splits in a movie like determines how good that movie is going to be for me. Like Time Cop was fucking awesome. That scene in the kitchen, man, you can't even beat it. Like he's got to do the splits at least twice for the movie to be a banger.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he did another movie called No One Lives with one of my favorite people ever in like these low budget.
No One Lives sounds like a movie that I would make because I literally one of the shorts we did was called Chicken of Men, and that was the only thing that had to happen was no one lives.
It was Luke Evans. That's what it was. Okay, I thought it was someone else. I thought it was Scott, whatever that guy's name is. I can't think of it.
Evans.
But yeah, who was when like the Hobbit movies and shit like that. You know,
I think I've seen this actually. I totally have seen this. No One Lives. I fucking watched this. Okay,
that's awesome. The guy actually got to do a loop in the third movie at some point here, which is a big anime in Japan. So it's like. It's interesting, man. He started doing American movies with the Midnight Meat Train, which I still think I've talked about this before, but that movie is so underrated for like horror.
100%, 100%. People just...
Bradley Cooper is awesome in it. Vinnie Jones is awesome in it, and it's like it's one of those movies that has that kind of twist ending that you're like, oh damn, that's cool, because you don't ever see where that movie goes coming, because it's a movie where you're like, oh, this feels like a serial killer movie, and it's not. Like, and it's like it hits that like plot twist, and you're like, fuck, that's dope as this metal as shit, as we always say here. And it's
because I'm a metal dude, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I've been listening to for the last like 2 months is Ice Nine Kills. Nice. And their silver screen, and just talking about horror movies and just everything on there. So I think that like the one of the things I really enjoy about this movie is that the female the character in the movie whose blood is like key to a lot of this stuff outsmarts basically everyone. Like she's like she figures out her blood is what the guy needs to like resurrect. She thinks she doesn't really outsmart him, but like she uses it to resurrect the main character.
Got told. I was like, why are you giving her away the fucking secrets, man? Like the main when the main bad guy of a movie starts to tell the plot or his what he's going to do, it's just like, well, you're gonna get foiled if you tell the people that that's tied up what you're gonna do to them.
But that's what he needed, really, right? It's like he needed her to bring him back because
it comes back. He's good at those twist points, right? Where you think you got it, but it's like, nope, 180, ha.
Yeah,
he's good at that.
Yeah, and well, that it gave that setup for that final like act of that battle and everything like that. I really enjoy just how this movie you said it perfectly, man. You and I both have said before, like when you start going over 90 minutes, it's often hard for our ADHD to just be like, what's going on and what's on my phone? And this movie's just like, no, man, it's gonna be like we're gonna just keep throwing shit at you, and you're gonna have a good time. And this is like the kind of movie I would,
man.
Yeah, I would love to see in a theater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
this is a popcorn movie for sure.
Yeah. For sure. And everything that sets up to that final battle, like is just so cool. Like it's weird, like talking about the camera filters that go over like the blue and the green and like grays.
Was there a rhyme or reason to it though? Like you were saying, I don't think there was. I was trying to pinpoint that. I was like, okay, they're gonna use this for this, but it was just kind of random.
It seemed like to me it was like they were trying to associate colors with characters. Like they were trying to do like, oh, this blue is for this main character, and then like
I don't think it was used often enough for that to be a thing.
Yeah,
like because it was like if it was like it was kind of misplaced sometimes.
I bet you're right though. What you said earlier that it was like it was a budgetary thing, and they probably didn't have like their other cameras weren't as good. Like they probably had one good camera and then two kind of cheaper cameras. I could totally
see that 100%. Yeah, they switched to other cameras sometimes, and I was like, don't use that camera ever again. Yeah. Like the main camera looks great. That camera does not look good at all.
It kind of felt like they were using like VHS tape.
No.
Like
I got it right here.
Things. Yeah. And you're like, well, maybe that's why.
100% that they were using.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Panasonic. What is it? I don't even know what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
But something like that. SD, XD, whatever.
Yeah, but I wonder about the other cameras that didn't look as good.
DVX 100.
Yeah.
I love that camera.
I love your Nosferatu shirt.
So do I, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I actually think, and then they do that one last where they do that one last like cool thing. Like they talk about it during the movie that like during the back in the day, the main character was like a good guy, right? Like in the 1500, and he had stopped this other dude from trying to do this ceremony because he was evil. But like, it's funny because then when they introduce you to this guy, they show like he's like killed a bunch of people, and that's why he was in prison and shit like that.
He's a bad guy now.
Yeah, he's a very like anti-hero for most of the movie, but it's like you're like, oh, but he's still like gonna stop this other guy, and he gets, you know, resurrected and comes back and beats him. But then like they hop 99 years into the future, and it was a bad thing to happen because this motherfucker, like, basically it's the end of the world, and it's all because this guy, all this shit happened with him, and he like basically fucked up the entire world. And you're like, damn, that escalated quickly. Like,
and
it
the girl's
was
like, man, I should have stayed with you. The lesson of two evils.
Yeah. And what I also love about that final shot is like all the lackeys that were with the main bad guy in the first one, like in the movie, are all now with the other guy, and they're all like bald, like they have all been irradiated out, and like are just like, it's so like dystopian, like future kind of thing, and it's like they just went with it, and it fits perfectly
to that with the fucking like paper buildings and stuff. I was like, oh, that's so good.
And then they cheese it up so much where like the main character now has like, he has the other guy's sword, right? And he's got like the Predator laser beams on it.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? What are you gonna shoot? The blade?
Yeah. I just think it's like a laser pointer kind of seems like. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like intimidate you now with this, and it's like, oh my god,
3 red dots.
Yeah, it's like the Predator, dude, and it's like, oh my god, this is so. They're just so.
You know what I just heard about Predator? They're filming it in Calgary, where I am, and it's being directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who, without him and the Totally Rad Show, I would not be a content creator today. Like, watching the Totally Rad Show and Dan Trachtenberg and Alex Albrecht and all that, just talk shit about movies. This is way back in the day. This is over 10 years ago now. Do you know who Dan Trachtenberg is? He directed 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, okay. Dope. Yeah.
And the pilot episode of The Boys and some Black Mirror episodes and stuff. Like, he just gets it. I don't know. My buddy and I that started the Rebrew back in the day, he's the one who told me it, and he's like, dude, Dan Trachtenberg's gonna be in town. We gotta find him. I gotta like vlog it or something. Him and I going around Calgary trying to find the Predator set.
Dude. That's another movie, man, that I feel like is completely like underrated. Like, that I don't think enough people ever saw it, which is a fucking killer
Predator?
movie.
Or 10?
10 Cloverfield
I saw that
Lane.
in IMAX, dude. It was unreal in IMAX.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's just, that movie is just Dan. What's his name?
John,
the main actor. John Goodman, just like acting his balls off.
God.
Like
he blew me the fuck away, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had that side to him.
Yeah,
he was scary.
Yeah, it's a very, very like, it's just like he's just a scary motherfucker in that movie and you don't get it right away, and it's not like appearance, it's just like actions.
I was okay, like, Cloverfield is hit and miss with a lot of people, which I don't understand because I fucking loved the first Cloverfield. Yeah, I found footage, to me, is like an obtainable like genre for indie filmmakers and stuff. So found footage movies done to that scale, like, was just mind-blowing to me. But then knowing that it was going to create a universe, and then that was the next movie we got, I was like, yes. People were pissed off because and that movie went under the radar like crazy because it was a smaller one, it was confined, it had a smaller budget, it all worked so well. But then the next one, The Paradox, which wasn't supposed to be a Cloverfield movie, and they should not have tied it into a fucking franchise that I now adore. That was a big backhanded smack to my face, because it was it was an all right movie, but it was not a fucking Cloverfield movie. And I got two middle fingers up to that fucking movie.
Yeah, it was why I never watched it, because I had heard that like it was like not a, and then I heard the reviews and I'm like, oh, great. There's some actors in that movie I really like. The guy from the IT Crowd.
There's
in that
cool
movie.
parts, man, but it's not a Cloverfield movie. They tie it in at the end, and it's just like, you could see the rewrites in the movie.
Yep. Well, dude, I mean, I've been talking about this a lot. Like I did that Trick or Treaters podcast last night, and we talked about sequels, and someone brought up Saw. No, I don't think anyone had Saw on their list, but we talked about it because we're talking about horror sequels. Yeah. And like that's like Saw 2. Saw 2 was literally not a Saw movie, and the script came, and I know a guy who went to school with the director of that movie, and he wrote the script, and nobody wanted it. And then Saw hit, and they're like, okay, let's make this a Saw movie. And it's just like, it was the same kind of thing, man, where the original Saw is such a fucking masterpiece. And I'm sorry, I'll say it. Saw is a masterpiece in horror. And they just took it into this like torture thing and like did all this stuff and like just did cringe.
The whole movement. It was like almost a decade of torture porn that we had to endure. If you didn't like torture porn movies, being a horror fan, we had to endure. That was all the fuck was coming out. That everyone was going to it because it was a new, essentially a subgenre of horror that was like killing it at the box office. Like I still like Hostel-ish, but like you know,
it's Hostel's entertaining, and like the second one ending is really dope. Like the end,
there's some
the
cool
ending
kills.
is
like if you're going, like I love my gags, man. Like gags are what make good gory movies good, because if you don't have good gags, then you got nothing. And Hostel has a fuck ton of good gags. So
and it's one of those things where it's one of the better things that, what do you call him, the director did, what's his name, I can't even think of his name right now. Eli Roth did. And between that and Cabin in the Woods, Cabin,
so good,
not Cabin, though, it's Cabin Fever.
Oh,
Cabin Fever is the other things.
But that again, he showed in that movie. That's his indie first, whatever. Like he could do the special makeup effects, like the stuff on the legs and everything. I felt that watching that movie in the theaters. I was like, oh my god, like
when that woman's shaving her legs and just pulling strips of flesh off is it's horrifying. And it's like one of those things.
That sound.
Yeah. You do those things, and it's just like, it's like it's like some of the things that have stuck out to me doing this podcast with you. I think of like anything for Jackson, where like the flossing scene or the sounds they use with that and stuff like that. And you're just like, I mean, it's just like you could do so much with you just use that sound stuff like design in these movies. And this is funny that you were talking about it. We go back to Versus. Like the Versus is like has a pretty good sound design for what it is, and like they use kind of that combination of kung fu kind of like, you know, sound effects a little bit, and then just that, which is perfect for that slight tone of cheese that this movie has.
Totally.
And all that stuff. And so, man, that's this kind of stuff that can just complete out a movie like this. And I am really happy that that this movie went as far as it did with this guy's career. I think I have like 6 of his movies on DVD. I have Versus. I have Alive. I think I have Origami or Azumi. I can't remember which one of those. And then I have Godzilla Final Wars, and I have what do you call it? Midnight Meat Train. So I've seen a lot of this guy's work, and it's good.
I'm just happy that I'm doing this show. Like I do tend to watch a few more foreign movies than like most people anyways, but I don't feel I was watching enough, because like you're putting movies, like, because you know time constraints a thing. Even the Oscars this year, like most years with the Oscars, I like do the bender and watch all the movies so I can have my own opinion before the best picture comes out and stuff. But when it comes to the Oscars and whatever, it's always so overly predictable. Like I do the game and stuff, and I think in the last 5 years running, my score is well over 90% because they're just so fucking predictable. It's like I don't even know this person or the movie they're in, but that person's gonna win because of this, and this that happened this year. They want to do this inclusion here, and they want to do that. Like it's all. It's not just the movie. It's the politics that go and what's going on in the world as well, right? You got to follow all that shit, and then you can really see through all the decisions that the Academy is making. Right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's we did so much Korean because there's so many, like, I feel like in the last decade, Korean films have caught my like imagination more than anything. But like, there's a thing where when I started getting into like foreign horror and foreign movies in general, it was a lot of Japanese movies. It was stuff like Versus. It was stuff that like was coming out and that was just like leaving impacts. And it's like I've gone out and seen stuff that like I think has made an impact on me. Like I not everything Takashi Miike does is my cup of tea. Like auditions, when those movies were like, I really enjoyed watching.
Like that comes up in any conversation. You talk foreign movies, everyone says Audition. That's on the top of most people's lists.
Well, that's the thing with that movie. It was just on. It was funny, like listening to people talk about it because it was on.
We got to do it on the drive. Show. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll do it at some point for sure. But they just did it at the last drive-in this last week, and so it's good on Shudder. So it's funny hearing people like who've never seen this movie like watch it for the first time, like, holy shit. And I'm like, that's not even his crazy movie. Like Audition's like a normal Takashi Miike movie. You go watch fucking the Ichi the Killer, where like the opening credits are like in cum. Like that's how they do the title crawl at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. You're like, oh, this motherfucker is just like bonkers, and it's wonderful. And it's just like, there's a lot of Japanese cinema. Like I kind of want to go into
some of the stuff like on ABCs of horror, like when it gets to the more Japanese parts where they're just like the torture scene is two guys sitting in a room and they have to jerk off and come to shit coming into the room, and it gets grosser and gross. I'm like, this isn't horror. This is just wrong on so many levels, and I'm not okay with this. Like, that's how I feel about it, right? Because then the last one, there's like a kid or something being like killed or something like that. I was like, this is not cool, man. Like,
it's funny because like I have more Japanese. I think I'll probably just hit a stretch of Japanese movies here. Like I kind of want to go through and go watch. I want you to see Tokyo Gore Police because you've seen Tokyo Gore. Yeah, you've seen it. I was explaining to Kyle from Trick or Cheers last night. I was like, just think of the
it's a musical,
like actions. No, it's not.
No, that was what was that one?
You're probably thinking of Repo the Genetic Opera.
Yes,
probably,
but Tokyo Gore Police is
it's like Power Rangers but with gore.
That's how I tell it to people. Just like
that's what I
Kill Bill amounts of blood. Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is just, it's a Japanese thing, and it's like it will be interesting because like I kind of like this groove we've gotten into where we kind of do like a Canadian or a very like indie thing that you pick out, and then I pick out some off the wall bonkers shit.
The only reason I'm picking these ones is they're just coming out or they're just getting onto my radar, and they're all from Black Fawn or like Raven Banner and just like fucking, I don't know. I love Canadian cinema though.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, go watch Versus. This movie is like around. I have it on DVD, like I said, but it was on Tubi. I watched it last year on Tubi. I don't know like if it's where it's streaming at this exact second, but check it out. It's entertaining as fuck, especially if you're an Evil Dead fan. This movie is just, it's chef's kiss. Yeah. It's chef's kiss. That's what it is. It's just so fucking entertaining.
That's how I felt after. I was just like, I feel like I had like a weird, satisfying pizza that I've never tried before and didn't know that those ingredients on the pizza were going to be that fucking good, and I ate the whole pie, man. It feels like when the first time I had like octopus balls, you know what I'm the fried octopus, you know, like where I was like, so
that doesn't you're like, that doesn't ever sound like it's going to be good, and you're like, oh my god, it's weird, but it's so good.
I'm
and that's
a texture guy, so like the chewiness was too much for me. I was like, I don't think it should take this many bites to get through something.
Yeah, that's a lot of people like that. So Josh, you're on the same page. Go watch this movie.
Oh my God, but, yes, please do. Like I had to go to my tattoo artist place. Like I do photography and like videos and stuff. And the first thing I said was, so when was the last Japanese film you saw? Fucking watch Versus now. Yeah.
Dude, the poster of this movie is fucking awesome too, with him standing there with a sword on his shoulder on the back, and it's dope. It's a really cool poster. Oh, by the way, you did that Oak Room poster, and it was fucking dope, and I really enjoyed that poster.
Well, if you haven't seen the movie, I realized after my monitor on this one is a little brighter, and then I look on my phone, I was like, no one can tell that those are fucking beer balls, but it's almost, if you've seen the movie, the poster that I did totally makes sense, 100%, and it's giving away everything, but not at the same time. It's a subtle hint and stuff.
Yep. So what are we going to be watching next week, Josh?
I was supposed to think about that?
I mean, you don't have to. You can think about it I just didn't know if you had something else in mind right now. I mean,
I do have that list, but no, not off the top of my head.
I mean, you could also
sticking out.
We could do Downrange that you just talked about. That's on Shudder. Or whatever else.
Back to Pontypool, like we didn't do.
I mean, you want to do Pontypool? I'm
totally
down with doing Ponty. Like that's a movie I need to see anyways. So,
fuck.
Are we doing it,
man?
Okay. Take 2, Pontypool next week for Murder Moose.
If I randomly come at you with a random other movie in the middle of the week, go fuck you. We're watching Pontypool.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll be like, no, Josh, bad Josh. I'm gonna like smack you in the nose with the newspaper. No.
Don't you remember anything?
No.
And I'll say, no, I don't.
Okay. Well, another dude. I'm really happy that you enjoyed Versus. It's one of those movies where it's
how
like,
could I not? How?
I know. I thought you were going to, but you always go like, this movie is like, it's actually one of those movies that really gated me into Japanese movies.
I need to hear 2 movies that you, a movie file, have recommended to a friend, and then they came back and said, what the fuck is your problem? Because I got 2 right off the top of my head that I'm so proud of to recommend to people, and both of them came back with, what the fuck was that, man?
The only thing I could think of is I got Brian from Dead in Santa Carla to watch Old Boy, and he didn't like it. So that's like the thing that's like, I think that maybe some of the stuff with the kid and all that stuff, and he's got kids, might have fucked with him a little bit. So that's the one I could think of.
For me, but okay, one was he's totally into horror movies, and I told him to watch The Void, and he didn't like it at all. Too indie, I guess. He's not really into indie films.
Yeah.
So I'll forgive Dan, my tattoo artist, for that. But my other friend who isn't so much into horror movies, I was like, dude, you got to watch Dead and Breakfast. It's a zombie musical. It's hilarious, and it's indie. It's Dead and Breakfast. It is so, and he came back and was like, no, dude, no. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's not to like? It's so good, but I guess, but still, those are two movies I'm going to leave this show with. Anyone that's still here, watch The Void and Dead and Breakfast. Those are,
dude.
Come on.
I mean, Void is, again, it's the legacy. It's the godfather of Psycho Gorman. Yeah. So it's a show that, like, you should definitely check out. So
I just, the triangle, KKK costume thing they did, like, it looks so menacing. And then they did that rip on, what was that movie? The scene where they're in like a hospital, and then the doctor comes out like following her really quickly. It's like,
that's Exorcist 3.
Exorcist 3, yeah. They like rip on that scene in The Void as well, and I'm just like, the like nods to like really cool scenes and that universe that they created is just so cool, and I wanted to see more.
The way people sold me on that movie before I ever saw it was like, they're like, if you like The Thing, sold. So I mean, it's
practical effects, man. You say practical effects to me, I'm all in. I gotta see it. Yeah.
Just coming everywhere. I'm just coming everywhere. So Pontypool. Next week, I'm not sure what movie we're going to be reviewing, because Josh will come up with something else over the weekend. No, I'll make
movies,
sure.
Man, I want to watch them all. Let's do it.
Okay, buddy. Yeah. So we are murdermoose.com. Our website, or our Twitter is actually now Murder Moose Pod. but it says like you could have your name and then like the actual Twitter handle, but like the name is right now is Nightmare on Murder Moose Lane, because I thought it sounded better than Nightmare on Murder Moose Street. I don't know why, but it sounded better to me. But yeah, that's that. Murdermoose.com. You search for Murder Moose on
It should
YouTube.
have been
and
Lake. Come on Murder Moose Lake.
I know, but I wanted it to be like a street thing to
I
kind of
guess.
go on Elm Street. So that's
two
kinda
middle
what I was-
fingers up to that Nightmare on fucking Dickhead podcast.
yes, fuck them in their asses with a gigantic dragon penis. Yeah, so that's everything, man. Josh is Josh WRB everywhere. I'm Roger_Johnson most places. So you can find me there. So Josh, this was a blast as usual, so I love your face, and Piney Pool next week.
Ooh.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.